good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome or welcome back, as the case might be. It's a pleasure to be with you this fine Wednesday morning. It's still morning where I'm at, August the 9th, 2023. My name is Dalibor Petrovic. I'm a partner at Deloitte, and over the past number of years now, I have had the pleasure of hosting this series of live webcast conversations with Canadian technology leaders. We call this series Conversations with Tech Leaders Shaping the Future of Canada. And we are careful to bring and invite those individuals that we know are really moving the technology agendas for their organizations forward and collectively, therefore, moving our country and our society forward. I'm very, very thrilled to welcome back after a couple of years, Tatjana Lalkovic for today's conversation. Tatjana is a Senior Vice President and the Chief Technology Officer of Definity Insurance. We're going to hear, of course, Tatjana's story in a moment. I just want to thank you, Tatjana, very much for finding the time out of your very busy schedule to be with us today. And without much further ado, Tatjana, I always start these conversations by inviting my guests to tell us their life story briefly, how you navigated your life, how you navigated your career to now be at the technology helm of Definity. So over to you. And thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm always excited to have a conversation with you in general. And I really love your series and follow them religiously, and happy to be back to share a little bit of, insights both on my background and where I came from, but also the journey in the past couple of years, or 3.5 years now, Dalibor, since I joined Definity. I always say to my kids that I'm not going to be telling them that story. Oh, I came to Canada with 4 suitcases, etc. And I always somehow end up telling that story. But anyways, I was raised and born in former Yugoslavia in Europe. And after I finished university, I felt that there's a world of opportunities, and got married and came with my husband with 4 suitcases to Canada, and made our home here, which was a phenomenal journey, and I couldn't pick a better country to call my home now. From the personal and career perspective, I had that dream that I'm going to come off the plane and the job is going to wait for me because I have computer science and math degrees, and I was ready to conquer the world. And what I very quickly realized that people were asking for Canadian experience, and I found myself puzzled in how do you build Canadian experience if you don't get that first job? And so the story that I always say, and it's the story for me about giving people opportunity, is I met this gentleman who was running a software company for printing industry, and he was German. And he knew very, very well the education system back in former Yugoslavia, which was, well, the opportunities for career were not as great at that time. The education was really, really strong. And so he gave me a chance, and I started my career being developer and support desk person and product development, and I did a whole bunch of things in the short period of 9 months. And then I got my big jobs with Fidelity Investments, and my journey kind of accelerated. And the reason I like to tell that story is because, as technology leaders, we need to think about giving people the chance to shine, to get the experience. And so that's why I kind of always start with that. But, I managed my career pretty deliberately and intentionally. I am always driven by curiosity and wanting to learn more. And so often people think about how you get to the next level. And what I realized through my career is that what is more important is getting that diverse experience and continuously learning and getting exposure to different things. And what I believe is that that's how I wanted to be a enterprise CIO. I was through my career business line CIO, but I really wanted to have that grasp of end-to-end, all of aspects of technology. And I felt what a better way to do that than continuously learn and expose yourself to different business lines, different technologies. So most of my career I spent in financial industry in 2 banks, 1 mutual company, but I also spent a couple of years in telecom and landed 3.5 years in insurance at Definity, which was a phenomenal journey. But I did, even when I was with banks, I wanted to always get different roles and do different things to learn and put myself and expose myself to the experiences where I could demonstrate that I can do it in a different context, in a different business with different technologies. So my highlights and proud moments and firsts in my career were, starting very long time ago. We in one of the banks, we built the first e-commerce site for foreign exchange trading in Canada. And it was a phenomenal journey where I built a relationship with the head of the business, and it was very innovative and uncharted path, very early days of e-commerce. I put myself in some business roles because I felt business and technology always need to be together. And so I thought I need to have a business role at one point so that I can really, build this bridge. I worked on starting a new business in one of the banks. We stood up global precious metals business from scratch, led omni-channel transformation for the major bank across the enterprise, got myself into fraud area where I wanted exposure on AI and really interesting business, learning the opportunity that actually Canadian financial industry has to collaborate better on sharing the fraud experiences because we have a common challenge and it's not competitive in the world. And so it's very interesting navigating that journey. And finally, I had a really innovative journey in Rogers Digital in big telecom, where I was accountable for business aspect, but also technology and building customer experience and leading customer experience teams, which is my big passion in life. That's kind of my story before I joined Definity. And as I said, I was very deliberate building that career and surrounding myself with great people, great mentors that I learned from, but also my teams. I felt I learned all the way through that. And I think that was a very important message for me and key factor in my career.
Yeah. So if I was to summarize this, what I heard you say is, first of all, curiosity. Second, I think courage. It just took courage for you to lift your bags and move from one continent to another continent. So that's courage 101, I guess. But it's curiosity, intentionality. So intentionally navigating your career, and part of that intentionality I heard you describe as you seeking new experiences. You wanted to actually experience different industries and different aspects within the industry to give you with a holistic picture and position you to a point where you can actually assume the full portfolio, which you've done with Definity. Actually, prior to Definity with Economical. We're going to go to that story next. I know that Definity was one of the most successful Canadian public company offerings in the history of Canada, and you've had the pleasure of being at the epicenter of that experience. So I would love for you to tell us how that went. I know that in 2021, Definity went through the process of demutualizing, It was a mutual company before then, to become actually a company. So, Tatjana, would you be able to share your perspectives on sort of that process, but also what are you working on right now? What are the current challenges? What are the current opportunities? What excites you?
Thank you for that question, Dalibor.
Big
I'm
question.
delighted to share that because I think Definity has a phenomenal story, and I'm truly privileged to be part of it and making the impact with the leadership team. So I joined in 2020, early 2020, which all of us recall to be a start of pandemic. So I had pleasure to meet my colleagues and my key stakeholders in a period of 6 weeks, and then we had a full lockdown. So I led technology through remote for the great first part of that journey, and we were at Economical and Sonnet Insurance preparing as a company to demutualize, and as Dalibor, you mentioned, 150-year-old company, large mid-market company with about 3,500 employees and about 3.6 billion gross written premiums. And one of the big dreams was actually to demutualize, and that was the first demutualization in P&C world. And so starting with figuring out how we what do we need to do to position ourselves for success for that IPO that was coming, and building the strong foundations while navigating the remote new world that we all were faced with. So I always say I had my first presentation to our board on the remote, and it was a challenging experience, instead of having people that I always draw energy from, I had a lot of stamps in front of me in presenting. But then nevertheless, we managed, and as a company, we successfully build both business but technology, really critical capabilities, leading into that IPO. And as you mentioned, Dalibor, we were the largest Canadian IPO in 2021, and second largest in history of Canada after Manulife. And what a proud moment for us to do that, and great success. The offering was raising 2.4 billion and focused on delivering and evolving needs in insurance to Canadian market. So I think what from technology perspective was really important to think about foundational capabilities, but also how do we position ourselves for continuous growth, because we have a strong growth story. We have amazing results even prior to demutualization and IPO, and positioning ourselves for scale. So inorganic and organic growth, M&A. And for that, from technology perspective, we needed to really look into and rebuild our technology foundations, our technology team, lift the engagement. We've done 30 points increase in employee engagement in technology since within first year since I joined, which is something that I'm particularly proud of. And so with the support of the rest of the leadership, we embarked on this journey of cloud transformation, because we felt that cloud transformation is critical for us to be positioned for ongoing growth, M&A, but also to meet our aspiration to be a digital leader in Canadian insurance, which we see ourselves as. And so we have migrated our core insurance platform to cloud, and we were the first insurance company to do that. And what was really important for us as a technology team and for me as a CTO is to continue to demonstrate that cloud transformation is actually delivering the benefits we were hoping for. So the big dream was no big upgrades, no big, every couple of years, huge investments in legacy technology, upgrade, disruption to the business. And this year we actually had what we call now update to the latest version of Guidewire capabilities, which is the core insurance platform. And the business didn't even notice. We didn't have any additional spend to that. It just happened. And so for us, that was a big thing. At the time when we were moving our claims systems onto the new cloud platform, that very weekend, we had a tornado level storm in Ontario, and huge disruption. Lots of people lost electricity, a lot. Obviously, you can imagine in this space of insurance, it's a big, what we call CAT event, a catastrophic event, where we need to support our customers with claims. And that weekend, while we migrated, we were able to scale that support and support our claims teams to support our customers. And it was a big proof point that was our good decision to position ourselves. So, and then we also saw the performance improvements from the cloud platform that allowed us to increase the conversion for Sonnet, our direct-to-consumer offering, a digital platform. So that was one big improvement that we focused on. And the second thing that we really focused on, Dalibor, in this world is really setting our strategic data platform. And we, in 2022, we established a strategic partnership with Google Cloud, and part of our Deloitte partners as well. We started this journey of migrating our data platform onto a cloud platform, and the way we approach that is not just making a technology transformation, but delivering value and use cases to the business, which was very important to continue our journey of innovation. And if you think about what is happening today with Gen AI and the explosion of change in technology since last November even, I think we are positioned really well to be that continuous innovator in the insurance industry and support our story of growth. And maybe what I would also add, you asked about what are the current challenges and headwinds and what are we focusing on right now. As you can imagine, after pandemic, we've seen the normalization of claims frequency, we've seen supply chain issues, and we've seen also from frequency and severity of natural catastrophes, as well as lingering inflationary cost pressures, right? And so what we are doing is, and I always say, it's not about innovation as a big I. Sometimes it's how you think about delivering new products and positioning yourself to innovate in whatever aspect the business needs. And right now, our focus area is increased digitization in the current economic and regulatory pressures, climate change. How do we do things better? How do we continue to be high-performing company and use the digital assets and technology innovation to digitize our business and manage our expenses and improve customer experience and increase profitability of our company and our direct-to-consumer platform, Sonnet. So that's what we've been up to in the past 3.5 years, Dalibor.
So it sounds like this is like a case study, it feels like a case study of organizations actually making investments in these modern cloud-based technologies. What I heard you say is that you actually did this for your core business platform that runs the insurance business, and you moved it off the premise into the cloud, that you are now extending that into other cloud-based solutions. And what I'm also hearing you say is that you are clear of the value that generated for the organization. And it now allows you to perhaps navigate through some technological challenges easier and better. I love the story of this. You were able to update your platform instead of having another multi-mega million-dollar project that will be disruptive to business. It felt seamless, which is wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing that. Certainly an impressive story, and the story that we should be sharing across our country as a great example of how good investments in technology do pay back. You had a unique vantage point, Tatjana, because as you mentioned, you're a computer science graduate. You have a degree in math, so you were in technology really, and you've experienced a progression in Canada from getting the first job and being a support person all the way through to being an enterprise CTO. Over the last couple of decades, the role of a Canadian tech executive. How is this role evolving, and what do you see are the critical skills and attributes that successful technology executives need to have to succeed in today's environment, and even more importantly, to succeed in the next decade's environment?
Dalibor, I think the technology executive and leaders have a very challenging and complex challenge to balance multiple strengths and skills in their toolbox and bring them to bear. I always say, first, you have to have a strong business leader, and I think of technology as another business that we need to successfully run, and so that is very important for a success. Be a business leader. I think in the competitive world in technology today, and the war for talent that I believe continues even in the economic challenging environment, strong people leadership, being able to set the compelling vision and inspire the teams to follow you behind that. And then I also, the third aspect that today's technology executive and leader needs to have, be credible technologists as well. In the era of the evolving technologies, we believe that I believe that in next decade, massive number of digital and artificial intelligence-based technologies will emerge across all the industries. And so for technology leader, it is critical that they have a technology understanding how that change in technology can impact the business that they're enabling, or how their business can leverage that change in technology and to the benefit of the business. And I also say you kind of in today's world have to be a bit of a futurist. You need to kind of anticipate and not only innovate, but think about how you position yourself that you can innovate on an ongoing basis, because the speed of innovation is accelerating. And finally, I think, Dalibor, all of us as technology leaders need to be a bit of a storytellers. I think what I learned, unless you're working for a technology company, the business leaders today need to more than ever understand the technology landscape and how to leverage it. And often that's the language and technology business is complex for them. Being able to articulate the technology strategy, the story, what that means for the business in a very, very simple language. So people and business leaders can embrace it, leverage it, support you in your journey is such a critical aspect of what I think the technology leader today needs to have. And last but not least, my big belief in today's world of technology is building the ecosystem of partners to deliver technology solutions for your business. And I really believe today's world is the world of ecosystem. Not one single company can have strengths in every single aspect of the world. And we as a technology executives and leaders have this creative opportunity to bring the different partners, different solutions together and create something innovative and new, or just plainly enable their business to leverage those aspects and accelerate. Because today, word is agility, ability to respond to regulatory, economic, and other pressures. And how would you do it if you don't have good foundations and great partners to surround yourself with?
That's really good. So here is what I heard: the key pillars of what you say are the essential attributes and skills for a successful tech executive. And I know there are different schools of thoughts on this one. That some school of thought says you don't really have to be a technologist to lead a technology department if you are, a strong business leader. But what I heard you say is that no, you actually need to have strong foundational knowledge of technology in order to competently lead technology division, department, technology portfolio. So that's number one, strong foundational knowledge of technology. Number two, you still need to be active as a business executive, right? Credible business executive, understanding the business that you're supporting and enabling. Three, orchestrator of ecosystems, as in things are pretty complex these days. Not a single organization can have everything that they need all within own fenced environment. You have to actually operate successfully in the ecosystem of partners and suppliers and vendors and academia and so forth. So an orchestrator and then a storyteller. And I loved the storyteller. That's really good. So thank you very much for sharing that. Now, digging back into that a little bit, now this whole series is about Canadian technology leaders helping us elevate the game for not just our organizations, but our communities, our country, and so forth. So any reflections on what role should we as technology leaders have to maybe more actively be involved in our communities in which we live, in which we work, in which we serve?
I think that's a phenomenal question and very relevant when you think about the next generation of leaders that need to have a purpose in your work and in your career. I think that is super important for all of us. And I think in today's world, who continue to face challenges and pandemics and political unrest and wars and technology revolution and navigate that, we as technology leaders, we need to think about the impact that we can make in both our communities and how we contribute to the whole ESG agenda and how we leverage our positions and eminence to create a better society and meaningfully contribute to beyond our jobs at work. And that is, I think, very, very important, feeling to have as you build your career, that what you do makes impact in your company, but that makes impact on our country and our communities and making a better world as the world globalizes more and more.
Yes.
I mentioned, especially for us in insurance, impact of climate change is huge. And, how do we as technologies support, clean technologies, energy efficiency to reduce carbon footprint, and how we engage in a meaningful way in that world. And I think the companies need to think about it as being part of Definity. I'm extremely proud of our focus on the environmental, social, governance activities, on D&I, diversity of thought, which I'm a big proponent, and then focus on community giving and community investment programs. Last year, we achieved in Definity the highest ever levels of employee engagement in community giving and volunteering. We have more than 2,000 volunteer hours logged by our employees, and 34% of our employees were donating to charities through our program, where Definity matches donations. And it's really, I'm proud to be part of the company that thinks that way. And I think next generations choose the companies based on the impact that they make to today's world. On a personal level, I'm privileged to chair the Definity's Inclusion and Diversity Council, and I have two fabulous vice chairs, female leaders that work with me on it. We're just right now working on a strategy as to what are we trying to accomplish in the next couple of years for Definity, but for the world overall. Very exciting. And I recently started engaging in and connected with Windmill Microlending company. I met CEO Claudia, and started looking into. They have a really great purpose. They actually help professional immigrants better integrate and certify, so that they can make an impact and integrate better in Canadian workforce in some professions. And I feel in technology we are lucky because we don't need additional certifications. We forget that for some professions we get greatly educated immigrants and they're not able to actually contribute meaningfully right away. And so helping and giving affordable loans to those professional immigrants so they can certify themselves and practice in what they studied for is something that is very close to my heart. And I am starting my journey to work with Claudia and her team to contribute to that purpose. And that's what I defined myself for a purpose for me, as well as my passion throughout my career is supporting and attracting talent into and girls in STEM and supporting women in leadership throughout my career.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's wonderful to hear you say these things and actually share some ideas. Perhaps some of our audience members listening in will pick up on that microloan idea. I think it's applicable everywhere. So thanks for sharing that, Tatjana. We are getting a couple of questions, but a number of questions are coming in from our audience members. You mentioned importance of people and talent. There is one question on that. We'd love to hear about your approach to people and talent agenda at Definity, given both the pace of change in technology and the business demand that, expectations are high. How are you approaching the whole talent and people agenda at Definity, from recruitment to performance management? Any reflections on that?
Sure, I'd love to share. And thank you for that question, whoever asked that in the audience. I feel like on Academy Awards, I want to thank my team, and I truly mean that. I have really high-powered team that we built in Definity on technology side. I feel that we're all motivated by making an impact for the company. They're all, we are in a very fast-paced environment, and we feel that we motivate our teams by setting a really compelling vision for them, showing them the North Star, exciting them with continuous challenging business challenges, but also technology challenges, and giving them opportunity to shine and make an impact, and see the impact of their work. And I think that's a key strategy for us to motivate the talent to Definity, is empowering them and allowing them to see direct impact of their work. I think that's one of the challenges that very large organizations may be facing, because at some point it is harder to show the impact if there's a big initiative that you're just one small part of. And what we do, Dalibor, focus on communicating to our teams how what they do fit in the bigger picture in our technology and business strategy. So we have all hand calls every week, every month, and we have town halls quarterly. And me and my leadership team spend tremendous amount of time both celebrating what they accomplished and educating them how each of them contributing to that big picture, so they don't lose the sight of how they belong to that big story. So they don't feel that they're just a small piece and don't understand how they fit in it. And we talk about celebrate those successes, and we talk about challenges that we have ahead of us. And we talk about them with a positive view as to every challenge is an opportunity to learn and raise to the occasion. And I think it does have a big impact, and that's why we have very strong engagement. We have engagement in 80s at this point, which is top quartile, and leading engagement scores. The team spends a lot of time on understanding engagement results and building some small strategies behind that as to how we continue to improve. The team also, we have a committee, social committee. So one of my leaders, Ron Milsk, has organized in Ski Day last winter, and they gave me data. I wasn't able to join them, but they actually gave me the numbers of our teammates who learned how to ski that day, and they all spent time together. And I believe by doing that team building, they become a better team and love working together and contributing together. So those are some of our strategies in attracting talent and getting our existing fabulous talent engaged in our story.
So it sounds like the essence really is to create a very personalized value proposition for every individual, so that every individual on the team actually understands and feels how their effort is contributing to the overarching objective. So it's really purposeful down to a specific, down to an individual level. This is very, very cool. We've got a couple of questions, Tatjana, on and by the way, we just lost your video, so I hope you can still hear us.
I think I clicked something, so
you must have. But I can hear that you can hear me. So let me ask you this question: as you get more senior in your role, how do you maintain and update your own technology foundational knowledge or your own tech savviness? Where do you go to keep yourself sort of up to date, to maintain the currency as technology changes so fast?
I think there's a couple of ways that I do that, and I continue to learn, and through my network always ask the questions, and how do you do it, and add it to my toolkit. Obviously, you sign up for publications, and one of them, technology trends for Deloitte, and get the insights across the world. and what's happening, white papers, reading through that. I think what's very important, and I've been spending a lot more time meeting with my peers across the industry, across the industries. Recently joined to be a founding member of Inspire Toronto Orbi, because I feel that picking the right forum to allow CIOs to collaborate on the non-competitive issues that they can share is really, really powerful. And recently I attended a dinner with a group of fabulous CIOs, and you know, you never lose that opportunity to learn. I still keep in contact with business leaders that shaped my career and my mentors, which I'm always, you know, inspired by, and continue learning from them. And obviously, books and podcasts and listening. That in today's world, you know, there's a lot of fantastic podcasts.
Any recommendations on books or podcasts that you follow?
Yeah, so a couple of that inspired me recently. One is not on technology; it's actually Medicine 3.0 by Dr. Peter Attia. And what I really loved about this is he talks about how Medicine 2.0 with you know, extended the lifetime of people by, you know, through vaccines and all the, you know, penicillin and those inventions. And now he's talking about we live longer, but how do we live with a better quality of life? And he talks about his journey in life and how he prioritizes healthy habits while navigating the stresses of life, career, etc. And I thought that's such an important thing, because sometimes we get so busy with our careers and life, and we forget about needing to have that quality through your lifetime. So I thought that was fantastic. Two books that I really love, a good colleague and friend in the industry advised me on the book Made to Stick by Made to Stick. Why Some Ideas Survive and Others Die is the title. And what I loved about that, he's chief marketing officer in a large technology company. And he told me, you know, what I talked to you about how we need to be storytellers. And this book is all about how you transform the way you communicate your ideas and do it in such a way that stick in people's minds. What do you say in your stories that people walk away, and you do a beautiful job summarizing, for example, my long sentences, you come and say, well, this is what I learned, and you have a phenomenal punchline. And this book is about kind of building that skill. And the other thing that is fun to read is Clara and the Sun for me. It's about, I think it's interesting for today's world of, you know, innovative technologies and AI. And it's a great book. It's a fiction that is very relatable in today's world of technologies. It talks about Clara, the virtual friend. And so I'm not going to reveal more, but I think it's fabulous. Book, fabulous read.
Those tips. I have a question. It's actually we have your time and time of our audience, but here is one. Done has been quite innovative. So there's been obviously investments in innovation as well as investments in running business as usual. The question that came from the audience is, how do you advocate for a spend that can be directed towards innovation versus spend that you need to actually operate the business units? Is there a particular thing that you've learned, and how do you actually position it so that you secure sufficient money to continue innovating? Any reflections on that?
I think very top of mind these days. I think one of the things is, you know, associate innovation and business spend with business objectives, tied very directly to that, and being able to articulate that to your...
In the story, as a storyteller, we heard that.
In a simple word. And then once you get that, build that credibility to demonstrate that it does actually deliver benefits, and track that, religiously communicate that, because that is very important for the business leaders. Getting that credibility that once you get the support for that innovative investment, and that it actually delivered on the business strategy or aspiration, that is key for the business. I think that's the key to secure the support and funding. And in terms of operating the business, I think our challenge as technology leaders is to figure out how to optimize that foundational machinery of running technology for the business, so there is more room and more investment available to explore future capabilities. And I think, also, I mentioned being a futurist, looking into what's coming and mapping it into what does it mean for our company, so that you gain, your executive peers and your CEO and your board support to why is that important for the company? Why do we need to think about it? And you almost want to get them to be the drivers actually into that investment, as opposed to us as technologies, because they believe it will make the impact to the business and can quantify the benefits that they will deliver to the company.
So essentially what I heard you say is that link all innovations to the business. You said, go explore, be a futurist, understand what's coming and what the potential of it is, but go one step further and link that potential back to the business value. So I think that last statement of the sentence is really where the punchline is. These exciting new technologies are exciting and new and interesting, but find a way to link them to the business value, construct a compelling story around that. Go small at the start, make sure you create the value, that you track it and demonstrate it and build the momentum, essentially, right? That's how I interpret what you said. This is fantastic. Very practical advice, and we are sadly over time. But Tatjana, I want to thank you so very much on behalf of all of our audience members who've been following and who've been submitting questions. We have recorded this session. We'll post it on our for those of you who are joining me often, we have created a very, very exciting fall schedule. We'll be talking about many cool things, from generative AI to data monetization and unlocking how to think about software licensing models and so on and so forth. It'll be an exciting fall and winter of our programming, plus, of course, a number of very, very seasoned, very wise CIOs who will be joining us for these interviews as well. So looking forward to seeing you back very soon. Tatjana, thank you again. Have yourself a wonderful Wednesday. It's always a delight and pleasure to speak with you, and I always learn something. I took my notes as well with some of the gold nuggets you shared. Thank you. All the best.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you, Dalibor.
Ciao.